Shar Shushan. So what we should really do is, we should take Shar Rachman and look one mitachavei keshet, whatever that distance is, to itself, and try to locate Shar Rachman over there, Shar Shushan over there. Is it clear what I said? I got mixed up. How big is the mitachavei keshet in the Kafta Aferach? The Kafta Aferach at other times use this measurement as mitachavei keshet. One of the times he uses it is in Chevron. He says that in mitachavei keshet, the west of Maras and Achpela is Kever Avner Bener. Kever Avner Bener, everyone knows where it is, right near Maras and Achpela. It's around 70 to 80 meters from Maras and Achpela. So mitachavei keshet is around 70, 80 meters. If we take Shar Rachman over here and we measure around 70, 80 meters, we get to across Kipat HaSela. Whereas if we want to go to the southern third of the wall just surrounding Har HaBayis, which we said ends up over here, it's around 240 meters away. So of course, mitachavei keshet could vary a little bit. It could be 70, 80, 90, maybe even 100, but it can be sometimes 70 and sometimes 240. So obviously, the Kafta Aferach is not referring to the location over here. He's referring to Shar Shushan being somewhere over here. Today, we don't see any other Shar on the eastern wall besides for Shar Rachman. Which of course raises the question, where is Shar Shushan? Why are we talking about where the Kafta Aferach saw Shar Shushan? Where's the third of the wall of Har HaBayis, the third of the whole wall? Let's just go see where Shar Shushan is. So we don't see really any other Shar. The reason is, as you can see, there's a huge landfill. Even over here at the corner, there's 15 rows below ground. Just like we see by the Crystal Tunnel, right? It goes way below ground. So here there's 15 rows below ground. But this is where the Muslim cemetery, which is to the east of Har HaBayis, everyone knows that cemetery. So over here you can see by Shar Rachman, and you see over here how this landfill covers another like 10 rows. And therefore, when we now go in the Muslim cemetery and try to locate Shar Shushan, we can't find it, probably because it's buried under the landfill. But if we go back to the sources, we find a source from Mujaradin, who was an Arab, a Muslim judge who lived in Yerushalayim in the 15th century, and he has a book all about Yerushalayim and about Hebron, and he says Shar Nosaf, in addition to Shar Rachman, B'chol HaMizrachi, is the one that is to the south of these two Sha'arim. There's a Shar called Satum, stuffed up, just like the Kafta Aferach told us. V'nitzav mul madrigot al-Burak. Across the steps going up to Al-Burak. At that time, Al-Burak was shown the steps of Al-Burak as the eastern steps going up to the Ramah. I have a picture of it. But the eastern steps going up to the Ramah is exactly across the Dome of the Rock. So the Shar Shushan that the Kafta Aferach was referring to is the same Shar that Mujaradin is referring to, which is located opposite the Dome of the Rock. So just to sum up what we said about the Kafta Aferach, I spent a lot of time on it. Okay? At the time of the Kafta Aferach, what was common knowledge was just like what we said, the Masorah, that the Dome of the Rock, that is the Makom of the Makom HaMikdash. Kafta Aferach doesn't have any objections, doesn't talk about this, the Chudish, the Geshita, otherwise. From a few things that Kafta Aferach says surrounding the Har HaBayis, we can indicate that, in fact, the Kafta Aferach assumed, just like everyone else, that the Makom HaMikdash was at the Dome of the Rock. Shar Shushan is exactly at the southern third of the Koisel Mizrachi, which is the full Koisel Mizrachi of the city, and that's exactly across the Kipat HaSela. This, we can prove that this is what he means from the distance he gives in Mitachavei Keshes away from Shar Rachman, and this is also mentioned by Mujaradin. Now I just want to get to the other proofs. So what time do I have? So what time? As long as you want. Okay. We'll get now to another proof which we said is about the...
Say until you convince someone.
About the topography. That was just about the Masorah and the Kafta Aferach. But now I want to get more into topography. Topography is sort of a raya. So take the mountain itself, and it's sort of mamish emes me'eretz titzmach. That the mountain itself will tell us the Makom HaMikdash. So there's a second what topography is. Har HaBayis, sometimes it's overlooked, but actually Har HaBayis was a mountain. It was a har. As being such, it's surroundings are lower, and it goes up and up until the summit. It has elevation up until the summit. When we look at a map, we only see 2 dimensions, and that's why sometimes you see there's a shortcut going from point A to point B, and you get there and there's a huge hill going up. So, because it's not telling us the elevation of the mountain topography. A topographical map tells us also the elevation, meaning if we look at it, we don't only see 2 dimensions, we really see 3 dimensions. How does it tell us 3 dimensions? This point up here is the highest point of the mountain, 2440 feet above sea level, and every ring is 10 feet lower, meaning this ring, where this ring is 10 feet lower than here. If I go to here, I just went down the mountain another 10 feet. Meaning, when I have lines closer together, the hill is much steeper, the elevation is much steeper, because just going from here to here, I just went down 70 feet. Same thing over here. If I go from this point on the mountain to here, I just went down 70 feet. So over there, the mountain is very steep. Whereas, where the lines are further from each other, so over there, it's a lot more subtle.
When is this map from?
Okay. This map was made by Charles Wilson and Charles Warren, who were 2 archaeologists which came to Israel from England on the PEF Palestine Exploration Fund. They came to Israel in the 1860s, and they really laid the foundation of archaeology of Israel as a whole. They measured from the sea level from Yaffo, a ton of things are from them.
But if all this is covered, how do they know what the elevation is underneath?
Okay, getting to that just 1 second.
Okay.
One of the main purposes they came was to explore Yerushalayim, and not only for archaeology purposes to find out. Yerushalayim suffered from a shortage of water. There was always a problem in Yerushalayim, there wasn't enough fresh water, which brought diseases and people were dying. And they came, their purpose was in Yerushalayim to find, could they find more Mukaris Mayim, could they find more water in Yerushalayim for the people to do. On Har HaBayis, there's about 40 cisterns, some of them very large, like this one. This is a cistern, a Bor Mayim, which holds a lot of water. And there are 40 Borot Mayim cisterns within the Har HaBayis. Not all of them are as big as this, the biggest one. But Wilson writes that if the cisterns and the water system of Har HaBayis would work properly, there would be more than enough water for the whole Yerushalayim. So they explored Har HaBayis, they went into all these Borot, and they mapped them out. Now, one of the things they mapped out when they were in these cisterns was where exactly is the rock level. So you asked. When you go into the bore, you can see where it's earth and where you hit the rock. And they marked off where they hit rock. They then found also on Har HaBayis, there were like channels of water going from one bore to the other. And over there again, they saw where it was earth and where the rock levels are. And finally, when they were here, as we saw the picture in the 30s, a lot of Har HaBayis was bare, and it wasn't so built up. And therefore, they still were able to find outcroppings of rock, and that's how they made the topographical map. Now, when we want to test Warren, we want to see, is he accurate with the map he makes? You know, was made by a lot of different points, with Borot Mayim and Jamos, but does he know what he's talking about or not? So we give Warren a test, and the test is in the southern excavations. As you notice, along the southern wall of Har HaBayis, now there's a lot of excavations, and we found the Shari Hulda and the Gvois and all kinds of stuff. Right? But we're more by the Davidson Center, further up. Warren dug over there in what he calls shafts. He dug like pits and galleries, like tunnels, and he documented everything he saw over there and wrote what he thinks is over there. After the 6-Day War, Professor Benjamin Mazar excavated the whole area professionally, uncovered it, took away everything, and we found that Warren, achad la'achad, he knew exactly what was going on. Everything Warren said, Rickmeyer, who worked with Mazar, writes that every day they used to go back and check Warren's maps and this, and they were amazed by how accurate he was. So they really knew what he was doing, and he gave us this map of Har HaBayis. And in fact, further now, sometimes there's no real archaeological excavations on Har Bayis, but sometimes to fix pipes and things like that, we again uncover and we find exactly what Warren said is exactly right. And so this is a topographical map of Har Bayis. Why is this so important? The reason why this is so important is because as we said, Har Bayis is a mountain, and therefore the Beis Hamikdash, when we're going to build it onto a mountain, we can't just build it on one flat area. So what we do is, just like they build in Yerushalayim and a lot of other places where it's mountains, they build it at different levels. That means on one level is the level of the Chel, let's say. Then there are steps going up, and there's another street. It's Ezras Nashim. Steps going up to Ezras Yisrael. And so the levels of the Beis Hamikdash, different Azaras were built into the mountain at different levels. Mitzvahs Midas tells us how big each Azara was, and then how much we went down, and how big the next Azara was, and how many steps there were to go down. We know every step was a half an amma, and therefore we can figure out the layout of the different Azaras of the Beis Hamikdash. We then take that with that topographical map, and we compare it. And what we find